just because they're technical students at some point, that inquiries for is not based on just combining or adding those components, but actually doing the factor analysis and scale just because people who are forecast 25%, that may have been something that teacher did afterwards. Classroom practice was not. The other question I had, or idea I had, is I'm wondering whether or not we should have any thought to actually looking not at the thread of physical threads in the thread of discord, because I think that figure is really quite limited, but to look at more the networks of ideas, because the knowledge when we're able to do that, right? We see all kinds of different connections between networks. And I think, so you do have a, let's say, a concentration of privacy or networks.
I think this is really work in progress. It's really exploratory. But I think, one of the motivations, okay, of, say, why are we interested in, say, argumentation? I think one is a very pragmatic reason. Because, say, there are all kinds of different indexes one can use. But say, for example, ATK is really participation. It doesn't relate to the quality. Now, one can look at scaffolds, but the scaffolds are chosen by the students and they might not really understand. So we were looking for a way to really have some sense of, to make sense of semantics. We've also tried to sort of do other analysis. But the argumentation seems to be, because of the discourse form itself, is more amenable to machine encoding. So that's why we were quite interested in it. So that was also one of the motivations. And so far we have, it seems to be interesting in the sense that, at least as far as the team perceive it, it looks to be providing some, well, first of all, some evidence that it can be in line with some of the indicators, both in terms of the participation, participation indicators for engagement. Normally, that's been used by people in the knowledge building community, and also with some of the quality markers, we look at the quality of the discourse. Well, if there's no sort of clarification questions, then maybe we can open up a little bit to discussion. So in a way, is this a profitable way to look at knowledge building discourse? Well, is it knowledge? Maybe I want to say a little bit about knowledge building discourse and knowledge building per se. Now, when children and teachers work on knowledge forum, are they doing knowledge building? That's an important question. To me, it's not a 0 or 1 answer. It's, people are learning to knowledge build. And so they are different levels of knowledge building. So that's one thing. And then what are indicators of knowledge building? I think that's also, well, it can be both a theoretical and an empirical question. And so that's how we are doing it. We've been taking some sort of indicators which are sort of derived more theoretically in the community, but we are also, and another reason why we were interested in argumentation was also because, before we do any very systematic analysis of the discourse, we just look at the for example, what Ming presented. He was looking and reading the discourse, trying to figure out what would be a good way to analyze the data. Then he found that, a lot of the more interesting discussion, in fact, the students were arguing. So we seem to see evidence of arguing to learn. So it's more, so it is two motivations working together. One is the empirical evidence, which seems to indicate that students are wanting to argue. I mean, or if they were arguing, they were in fact engaged, and they were arguing to learn. We did not see any evidence that the students were arguing for argument's sake. So we don't see arguments in in the belief mode operating. We were more like, argument in design mode, as far as I can see. So one is the empirical side, but the other is the more pragmatic tool side. So it's, say, one of the one kind of indicators that's been used in the research community, interested in knowledge building, has been the level of explanation. Now, levels of explanation is obviously, a very, theoretically to me, is a sound framework. But also, it's very difficult to mechanize. How can a machine, that would be much more demanding. But to get at least, and for me, teachers always ask, the students write so much. How can I know what they are? So am I supposed to read all they write? And so it's very difficult. So is there any indicator that we can provide on the fly for students to, for teachers to have some sense of how they are going? And so the statistics about the kind of discourse marker that seems to be more associated with the first couple of notes in longer threads. Now these are, what, if I use Chris' term, the data would be ecological data. So we were not doing it in experimental conditions. But looks like that, if, things like rebuttals or, contrast or that kind of markers appear, they seem to be, follow up more in a more engaging way. So maybe we could look. That's all, so far what we were able to do. So whether this is a profitable line, we still have to see. But I think this is a start of what we have done.